gutsy call, but ultimately it put him in position to win the race.
I think Chase is enjoying driving race cars again.
Your teammate's the guy that's won 4 races. Can't lose your cool like that.
Like, to get to 8th from 16th by itself will be a task.
Are you talking about that bracket? Nobody gives that.
He said that's probably how Mamba looks leaving NASCAR Sundays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Kaitlyn Vincie, and he's Mamba Smith.
Hey,
our friend Mamba.
Still here.
Hey, still here. Wait, hang on. Before we get too far into this, we got to introduce him the right way.
Correct.
This is Kevin
Future
Harvick.
Hall of Famer.
Future Hall of freaking Famer.
Yes. Yeah,
man. Yeah.
Yes.
That was pretty cool. They got me. You know what I hate about working at Fox?
That they surprise you all the
They
time.
surprise me. I hate surprises. And all the time on this show, on the pre-race show, during the broadcast, it's always something. So I guess I should be used to it. But that was a pretty cool surprise, having Mike Helton show up at the desk and be able to tell me that I was nominated to go into the Hall of Fame was pretty neat. So you work your whole life to get to that point.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, it was neat.
You're more than deserving.
Yeah.
Sure, everything you've done for this whole sport outside of just driving too. So
Oh, I love it. That's what I based my whole life on. So
Yeah.
it's the people that I like to be around. It's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Did you see it coming?
No, it was really weird because all of a sudden we were standing there and Helton was getting ready to come on, and the next thing you know, there's like 6 or 7 more cameras.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, this is weird. We never have more than 3 cameras for pre-race, and next thing we know, we had media standing around, and so now it all makes sense, but it
Everybody
didn't
was
at the
in on
time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Sick.
surprised they were able to pull a fast one on him because
Yeah.
he's pretty,
He gets locked in. He gets
does,
that mic. It's like putting the helmet back on. He's just locked into the task at hand. Future Hall of Famer. It's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be cool. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah,
Yes,
I appreciate
we're
it.
Very excited for you. Okay, welcome into another edition of Happy Hour. Plenty to talk about leaving Martinsville, the short track, and you've got some really good sips with us
We
today.
got some solid sips. We're going short track racing.
Oh,
We're
I love
going
it.
motorcycle racing. We're going vintage racing.
Racing.
All types of racing this week.
All types of racing. And we're also going racing at Bristol in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we will preview that race coming up as well.
Hang on. Wait. Make sure you guys follow
sorry.
us.
Yeah, there
Harvick
you go.
Happy Pod on all our socials.
Look
Good
at him
job. Way to-
delivering his
way to
line.
catch it right there.
I
Yeah.
got you.
I'm still thinking about the Oscar Mayer wiener.
Kevin's got wiener on the brain right now.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to give a backstory on that. Because Will Buxton was just here telling us how they
We were
commentated the
talking
Wiener
about
race.
commentating the Wienermobile race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and of course Will has to sing the song. You
Right.
know the
So
little,
now it's stuck in Kevin's head.
I wish I was an Oscar Mayer wiener. So that sticks in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need
And
to
then
play
after
some
going
different-
through the whole weekend of talking about nuclear red hot dogs.
True. This is a lot of Wiener talk.
Yeah. and I mean, every so often they would post how many hot dogs they'd sold at the racetrack, and it's right outside the booth. So
Oh, boy.
last I saw it was 47,000 hot dogs.
That's impressive.
You were locked in on the hot dog situation this
He
week.
said
Yeah.
he ate 0.
I ate 0 hot dogs. I've only had one my whole life,
That's probably for the best.
and I ate it in the TV booth.
Yeah.
That's right.
years ago.
We put it on the air for
That's
the
right.
word of the week thing.
Yeah, look
that we
good.
didn't end up doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 We didn't do that word.
We did not do that
No,
word.
that one was questionable.
Questionable.
You in a hurry?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, you know what else was questionable, potentially, was the call Alan Gustafson had for Chase Elliott, but it ended up paying off in a big way. And I want to start with our winner at Martinsville, of course, in the Cup Series. They have to feel like that was a pretty validating win for that whole group, right?
I think so. Can you say his last name one more time?
Gustafson?
Okay. I was just checking.
Can you say his last name?
Yeah. So anyway, I think that the call, I think Alan gets a lot of grief about whether he should be Chase's crew chief, not. And when you're the crew chief for the most popular driver, you're always going to get grief, whether you want it or not. And he doesn't. I mean, they don't care. Like they don't listen. They do their own thing. And I think that call. I mean, he was I believe the first one to pit road, and being the first one to pit road. If that doesn't go right, sure, you're setting the tone to go from he went from 9th to the lead on that pit exchange, but If it doesn't go right, you're going to be at least one lap down, if not two, by the time things all cycle around. So gutsy call, but ultimately it put him in position to win the race. And once he got control of the race and was able to get the lead, he never looked back. So didn't make any mistakes. And his car was good. His car was really good on Saturday. It was not as good to start the race as what we had anticipated the 9 car being. So he fell back a little bit at the start of the race. They came in, made some big adjustments, got themselves back in the pack a little bit. And ultimately, in the end, that pit call is what won them the race.
Yeah. Great call by Allen, put him in position. He was able to maintain it. After the race, I don't know what you guys thought. I felt like it sort of seemed like a reinvigorated Chase Elliott. He was very, grateful, expressed a lot of gratitude, seemed genuinely very happy. Not that he hasn't in the past, but it seems like he's maybe in a different zone. You're smiling? Do you agree?
It sounds like that's like the type of energy, that shift that would create a breakout season for somebody that I don't know who talked about that at the beginning of the year. But no, I mean, I think Chase is enjoying driving race cars again. Like, I think he came into this year with a different energy and a little bit more swagger than he's had over the last couple of years. And I think that translates into your team. And I think that Allen is someone who's probably a top 5, top 6 crew chief as far as, like, especially when it comes to leadership. Like, I think he's someone who really galvanizes his troops around him and keeps his driver locked in and pushing, because they've had a rocky tenure together, not like between each other, just like a lot of ups and downs.
I would agree with that, but it takes a strong personality to be able to wrangle the situation that you're in with the hand that you're dealt with Chase Elliott because of his popularity and the criticism that you're going to take. But I think that Chase is just at a point in his life where it seems like the maturity level he's always been very mature, I felt, for his age. But to be successful in this, and we've talked about it with Tyler Reddick, right? Like, you got to take responsibility for the workload and things that go with what it takes to go out and consistently win races week after week and contend for a championship. And Chase has done that. But it's hard to do it year after year and stay motivated. And there's so many things to distract you from being motivated. And the amount of stardom that he has, it's even harder because a lot of times you just want to be left alone. Yeah. Right? You don't want to. You have to go around people so much, and it's always so in your face, and all the things that come with it are hard to deal with. Like, I look at Chase and Dale Jr. and it's like, man, I always wanted to, do really good and be popular for the right reasons, but those guys are at a whole different level of things that they have to deal with. So that's a tough situation when you have to deal with a driver like Chase Elliott.
Yeah, Chase, Dale, like Bubba has a lot of that too. Like, the things that they deal with are different, and then that means the people around them have to deal with different things than the people around all the other drivers. So everyone's got to be on the same page and understanding what those things are. And I think Allen does a really good job of that. And that call. That's why he's on top of the box. But
also listen to his driver, because Chase was saying he didn't feel like he could conserve tires anymore, and he immediately reacted to that, right?
Yeah, it was quick. I mean, it was in a lap or two that they were on pit road. Once he said that, it's like, all right, well, if we can't do anything good with what we're doing in our original plan, we're going to abort. But Allen's always had guts. Yeah. Like, he's never been scared to just pull the trigger and see what happens. And it paid off for him big time.
You got to do stuff that's going to win the race, right? If you can't just sit around and wait for it to come to you, you got to shake it up.
Try and do something different. Yeah. So he mentioned after the race that he had a phone call from Mr. H going into the race weekend, I guess Sunday morning. Allen did. We've talked about Hendrick Motorsports and when would we see them get to the win column. Has this kind of sidelined any doubts based on what you saw at HMS over the course of the weekend?
Well, I think anytime you get back to victory lane, it immediately ends those conversations. And I think at Martinsville they had won 30 races, so this was 31 as an organization, so they're pretty good there. And when you go back there, you expect them to be good again. And I think that Chase Elliott carried the banner this week, and Byron qualified good, but he never had the pace that the 9 car had in practice. But he laid down a good lap. So these are exactly the expectations that we have, and Hendrick Motorsports has for themselves, along with Chevrolet and everything that they've done with the new car. Now, do I think it fixes all the problems? No. Do I think when we get to the 1.5 miles, they're going to be better than they were at Vegas? Probably. It's just taken them longer to figure things out than I think that they anticipated with how good the car was on paper. So it's it can always look good on paper, but until you get it to the racetrack, you don't really know. So I think they still have some work to do, but where it came down to the mechanical piece of the car and the things that they do at Martinsville Speedway, they were still there.
Yeah, the process. That's what I think. That's really what you learn the most, is that our process is getting better. And even though this isn't going to relate to a 1.5 mile race, at least we know that what we're doing is creating speed and giving us opportunities. And when you win races that maybe, I'm not going to say you're not supposed to win, but when there's someone that dominant and you're able to rip it from somebody else, that goes a long way as to what you feel like you can do as a group.
They had a better pit call. They had the better situation, and you know, they outdid the 11. They didn't have the fastest car.
Yeah.
So that's we still haven't seen a race where they've had the fastest car as far as the organization and Chevrolet that I can remember going back to. I still don't think they had the fastest car, but they had what was really close to top three car, and being the fastest car on several laps. So, you know, I think that you never really know until they get to the front. And once he got to the front, I mean, Hamlin didn't have anything for him in his situation, and I think it sounds like he had a loose left rear wheel at the end of the race that he was navigating. So ultimately, in the end, they were the best team when it counted, made the best call.
You mentioned the dominant car. Denny Hamlin obviously got the pole, swept both the stages, had an issue on the restart, missed a shift. Seemingly,
I couldn't tell if he spun the tires
or
and got it hung on the rev limiter or what happened there, but he didn't have a good restart.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that it actually came down to that situation and the caution coming out, and Chase was able to get by him, and then that allowed Chase to have control in the next restart. And you know, I think that Denny lost control of the race, and you know, he had the moment right here with Ryan Blaney. They kind of got that right. He got that right rear quarter panel hung on the left front fender of Blaney's, and when that happens, you can see Denny's car kind of turn to the right. He tried to force him up the racetrack right there, but I don't think he meant for what happened to happen.
Yeah.
A lot of times they just get hung, and when it takes that 11 car and kind of turns the nose to the right, it hangs those cars together, and Blaney, ultimately the one who got the bad end of the stick on that one, and got stuck in the fence. But he came back and finished sixth, so he wound up having a decent day.
What did you see out of Ryan Blaney? Still able to get a sixth place effort despite what happened.
They did what they needed to do. They stayed in contention all race long. I think they knew that they didn't have the speed to beat the 11 straight up, and in that situation, if you can get in front of the 11, maybe they felt like they were as good as a 9. Right, so if you could have been with the 9, and then maybe you could have took the lead away from him, and then you're controlling the race, and now maybe Denny doesn't get to you, right? So they were in the mix, and that's, I think, when your competitor is that much better than you, that's really all that you can ask for.
One of the biggest things that stood out to me about that team this weekend was no mistakes on pit road, because we have been documenting how many issues and errors they have had. How big is it for them to, quote unquote, stop the bleeding, as you said?
Well, they did, and kudos to them for not making any changes with all the pressure that the outside world was putting on the pit crew, and I can't remember how many cars Ryan Blaney has passed, but it was a staggering amount.
Yeah.
And at a race like Martinsville, you put yourself in the back, you're not making it back to the front. And so they couldn't make a mistake. I think they lost one spot on the first pit stop, and ultimately just kind of held their own for the rest of the day. So in a situation like that, where you have a team that is struggling and trying to get their footing, back on the ground and get things headed back in the right direction, you just have to have a scenario where you don't have any mistakes, a clean day, and just put that confidence back in everybody that you can do this, everything's going to be fine. And obviously they know that they have a good pit crew, but hasn't been great.
Has not been great.
From a speed point on pit road this year, their ranking has been awful, but they didn't look like that team on Sunday.
Yeah, and you got to give credit to Ryan for not bailing on his guys. Bailing on his guys, like believing in them and letting them go through the process to get better. And obviously that instills a lot of confidence in those guys that, okay, our driver believes in us. We know we can be better. Jonathan Hassler believes we can be better. Yeah. So let's let's do it now. Let's put it on paper.
I still think the problem that they have is they're just not as good as the Hendrick and the Gibbs pit crews.
As a total company.
Just as a company in general. I mean, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just, you look at Christopher Bell, he was probably a 12th place car, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And they gained 2 spots on every stop, and he finished, somewhere in the top 10. He didn't run there. So his pit crew put him in a position to have a better finish than what they had as far as the performance of the car.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about being such a team sport, right? Like you need everything working out to get there.
So does this spur the conversation of a pit crew draft?
Look, I would love the pit crew draft. I've been preaching this for several years to be able to. Now, the teams are going to be pissed because they put all the money into trying to go find their own people. But I think you should have to put them in the system, and let's have this like NFL style pit crew draft every year.
Listen, hear me out. If kind of like an expansion team, when a new team joins the NFL or NBA or whatever, and then you get to select a couple people on your team to keep locked up. And everyone else kind of goes into the draft. Yeah. And if you want them, you might get them, but you might not. I think that would be so dope if you did that like every 2
Imagine
or 3
if the guy
years.
that jacks Kyle Larson's car wound up having to jack Noah Gregson's car.
Oh my God.
I mean, I bought a great jack guy this year. It's going to be a hell of a year.
But the cool thing is you're going to get compensated. As the pit crew guys, you're going to get compensated for that. You know what I mean? If you're the best at that position and you end up with maybe a lesser team, you're still going to get paid. You know what I mean? So
they'd hate it.
They would.
In theory, it's a great idea, and it would be a lot of fun. The pit crew guys would hate it.
Yeah, because now you're talking about different organizations. Like, it's not like they all train this. You know what I mean? Like, everything would be way different.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be cool, though.
A fun thought. We were talking about Team Penske before I derailed everybody with the draft. And another person who has to feel good leaving Martinsville is Joey Logano. After a very dismal Darlington. He even said after races like that, I start to question everything. How huge was that run for the team?
And that's the way it works, right? Like, no matter how many championships you've won or how many races you've won, when you have a race where you get lapped 3 times, you're like,
that's tough.
WTF.
Am I doing something wrong? Can I still do this?
Yeah.
Did the switch just go off and I'm done knowing how to drive this race car?
Done.
But you ask yourself those questions. Your crew chief is asking those questions, your engineer, but being able to switch it into the next week and be able to dig down deep and have that finish at a racetrack that's 14 straight top 10 finishes for him at Martinsville. So it has obviously been a great racetrack for him. They qualified up front, ran up front pretty much the whole day. Mm-hmm. So, that's how you rebound from getting lapped 3 times.
Yeah, stopping the bleeding often comes with a good finish at a place that you run good at. You know what I mean? Like, or it rips it open more where you're like, I'm usually good here, and now we suck, and now it's really, really bad. So depending on how the schedule lands, it can really stopgap.
Could you imagine if he had a second bad week having to go into this off week? It would have been miserable.
With that hanging over your
it's
head.
like, okay, we know we've got some work to do at certain racetracks, but I at least know what I'm doing. And that's just the weird mind of race car drivers.
I bet money if he would have had another bad week, he would have not had an off week and would have ended up at Rockingham somehow just to run some more.
I don't see that happening.
He ran up at Rockingham. He likes that place. He's good there.
Yeah.
Someone who's been good everywhere lately is Ty Gibbs. Once again, a very solid finish for him. He has strung together such a consistent stretch of races. Do you see a weakness in their program right now?
Well, I think that for the most part, the Gibbs organization has shown speed everywhere that they've been. I think we saw this brewing with the 54 last year. Mm-hmm. Those last 10 weeks of the season, the speed that Ty and his team had, we saw the changes that they made within the team, and I think it started last year. I think now you're starting to see some consistency in the team, no matter what type of racetrack that we go to, and they have the speed in the cars to go with it, like their teammates, which wasn't necessarily the case when we started the season last year. It just didn't even look like the car was coming out of Joe Gibbs Racing. It was just so far off the pace and at some of those races. Now it looks like Denny Hamlin's and Christopher Bell's and Chase Briscoe's a little bit of a different conversation
that's later.
right now. But, I think that when you can get that top 5 consistency, you're going to win a race because you're in the mix. You've got the speed, you're qualifying well, and you're finishing, and that means the pit stops are going well. You're going down pit road well. You're having good restarts and all those things. And you have to learn how to race up there. and I don't care what you've won before, you got to learn how to race in the top 5 in Cup consistently, because it's a different style of racing, but it's also a different level of detail that go along with what you need to do in order to beat Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson and all those guys that consistently win races every year.
And he's a proven winner based on all the things he did in the development series for Ty Gibbs. You know, it's just, I feel like, a matter of time before he crosses that threshold and gets one at the top level.
Yeah, I'm happy for the kid, because about a year or two ago, we were like, this is not looking very good, but he's had time. You gotta give, some people just need time.
He's also been through a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's been through a lot. He's in a different situation than other people, because he's also trying to, you know, his last name is on the side of the building, so like this comes with a different type of responsibility.
This goes back to that pressure we were talking about.
That pressure that we're talking about, like, it's a different responsibility. So the fact that he's kind of getting into this little bit of flow state where he's like, everything's running well, it's all consistent, and I'm really happy to see that the kid that won the O'Reilly's championship a few years ago, we're starting to get that kid back as far as how he's moving around.
I think that's the other thing. He's not a kid. I mean, he's still young.
Yeah.
But he's matured into a man.
He's grown.
And, you know, I think that when you can take yourself and take it to the next level from who you are as a person and have that blend over into what you do in the race car, that's the type of communication that it takes in order to get the details out of these race cars, with structure, organization, people, personnel, your schedule, the things that you say, the things that you do. And like I say, we're going to go back to Tyler Reddick and the conversations that we've had about him and just the things that he says and does, and, you know, the little inside that we've been able to have with Denny and the things that he said and Tyler has told us. You know, the sooner you realize the level of expectations that come with everything outside of the car, and you learn how to deal with those things from a circle of life standpoint, the quicker you're going to get to where you want to be in this at this level of racing.
Speaking of expectations, you mentioned him briefly. His teammate at Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, ended up qualifying 27th, pretty much out of the picture the whole day. We've documented their struggles to start the year. They're way back in the points. What do you think what's going to need to happen for them to just right the ship?
Well, this week was a result of last week from qualifying. You have a bad week, at Darlington, a bad finish, and then all of a sudden you got to go out early in qualifying. And at Martinsville, if you go out early, you have no chance of being able to put yourself in the front of the pack until the racetrack gets cleaned off. That's just the way that this works. So a lot of times a bad week leads to a bad qualifying effort. And
just keeps going from there.
Yeah, and I was really surprised that he ran as bad as he did this week, because the rest of those cars, I mean, Bell was at the tail end of the top 10 all weekend. Chase got lapped early in the race by Denny Hamlin. And, I just thought that they were further ahead of where they were. They've had a lot of bad luck, and a lot of things have gone wrong. But, now we're talking about the confidence and things that go with what you need to do to perform at a high level. And those are always the tests of, okay, what's this guy got? What's this team actually have? What's this team actually have now that they're in a hole? How do they get out of it? Can they keep it all together? Can the driver keep it together? Can they keep it together as a team mentally to be able to perform at a level that it takes to know where they need to be and have been? And that's the questions that I have now. Can they carry, and I had the same question going into the year, can they carry the same enthusiasm as a group and work ethic and the mental capabilities that they had last year into a new year and do it again?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on being, like a quarter of the way.
Yeah, I think he's 21st in the points.
Yeah, he's 20. Yeah. I just looked it up. He's 21st, 222 down.
Yeah.
Daniel Suarez, I think, is 16th, and I think it said like 186 down. So like that gap is.
Don't even care about that gap. If you're going to win the championship, you need to. What's the gap to 6th?
You need to get to 6th.
Yeah.
So like that, the only way you can get there is So there's the points right there. The only way he can get there is by really pulling up those bootstraps, and they really got to roll off, get some stage wins, collect those points, and then finish where up front. They got to finish in the top 3. They got to start winning.
His teammate's a great example. Ty Gibbs had a couple bad finishes at the beginning with the wrecks and things that happened at Daytona and Atlanta. But now they've been knocking off these top 5s, and scoring those stage points in the top 5.
Yeah.
And he's what, 6th in the points?
Yes,
Yeah.
6,
So,
131 back.
you can climb your way back up there, but you can't qualify in the back, and you can't not get stage points, and can't do what you did at the end of Darlington and knock the thing into the fence. And so, they're in a tough spot now, and the mental battle is real.
As we get closer to the in-season challenge, the picture is going to be real hard, because the point gap it's going to be interesting where it all is, and if you can really make up that many points on guys that are being consistent. Like, to get to 8th from 16th by itself will be a task.
In-season challenge, are you talking about that bracket thing?
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about that. Everybody.
You had to have known that would be his reaction.
Yeah, but when we get to it, that's when we're like,
He's thinking about where he's going to be at race 26.
Yeah, that's what I'm
all
saying.
he
So
cares
when we
about.
get to that,
he could care less who he's seated up against.
Yeah, but when we get to that,
challenge.
there's like 7 races left.
Yeah.
So like that's when you'll know really where you're at, if you can make it or not.
Yeah.
As someone we were trying to figure out if they knew where they were at was Bubba Wallace, that caused a big pileup with Carson Hocevar, resulting in a very dented car for Carson. What did you make of this situation?
What do you call that? What do you call that? Inner fender? What do you call that?
The wheel well?
The wheel well, Clint.
Yeah.
It's the wheel well.
It's the wheel well, Clint. Yeah. So this I think. Well, I know Bubba got riled up because Carson put him 3 wide on a restart and put him in a bad spot, and Bubba didn't like that. But it's Martinsville, and I've lost my temper a bunch of times at Martinsville and probably done stuff like this too. But it's tough when you crash a guy like that and then wind up in the crash yourself, and
11 other people,
and your day is done, and it wipes out so many cars. So I think Bubba just lost his cool. He didn't like the move that Carson put on him early in the race, and then kind of lost his cool there, and wound up crashing the 77 and himself and several others. So unfortunate for all the other guys that are involved. And these, look, it wasn't long ago we were talking about Bubba and Tyler being 1-2 in the points. Bubba's 11th in the points, and when you look at that, and you're the guy that is 11th in the points, and your teammate's the guy that's won four races and leading the points. That's a lot of pressure. And I promise you that he's frustrated that he's not been the guy that's won the race. But you got to keep it together. You can't lose your cool like that and cost yourself and your team all those points and everything that happened in this scenario.
He seemed very frustrated on the radio, frustrated with Carson. But then in his interview, he seemed like he kind of calmed down and just stated that he misjudged.
Yeah, the interview part was, he was very calm about it. He was like, I didn't mean to do that. I misjudged it, and he was very calm in it, and which is probably some maturity of calming down. At the same time, I'm not gonna call him a liar, but at the same time, I'm like, you look like it looked pretty intentional from the. It looked
Only
like
part he misjudged is that he wrecked himself.
Yeah. Like it looked like you were mad at him. So we're gonna leave that up for debate. But I think we talk about the points and not. Like finishing where you are. So finishing, he was probably around like 15th around that time. Finishing 15th versus finishing 36th, massive in your point situation. You got to finish where you're running. If you're having a bad day, your meltdowns are going to be catastrophic, and that's kind of what we're seeing.
Yeah, and that was definitely a meltdown.
Well, some drivers frustrated leaving Martinsville. They'll have a week to think about it and everything that's going on since we have a little bit of a break. But before we transition from Martinsville, I want to talk briefly about Lee Pulliam, who competed in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series with a very impressive 5th place showing, leading the race towards the tail end of the race. I know he had some mistakes at the end, but I feel like he has a lot to be proud of.
He does. And I hate, he missed a couple shifts there at the end of the race, caused a massive pile up. And so... it's that part's unfortunate, and I think that it's great for short track racing to be able to have a guy like Lee Pulliam be able to show the world what his talents were. And Ken Schrader used to say it the best. There are hundreds and thousands of race car drivers all over the country that deserve to be racing on Saturday and Sunday. And Lee Pulliam is one of those guys that just, for whatever reason, never got the opportunity until Dale gave it to him right there at Martinsville this weekend. So great win for short track racing. I wish we went more places like Martinsville. Dale actually brought this up, that it'd be great to go back to places like South Boston and
to give those guys
at least 1 or 2 a year of those short tracks besides Martinsville, even if it's just one other place each year to kind of take the series around so that the short track guys could have
Bristol
their
is not
opportunity.
the same thing.
Bristol's a totally different deal.
Yeah.
All these late model stock guys race at Martinsville.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the crown jewel late model stock race that we have every year in this part of the country. You go to Martinsville, there's 80 to 100 cars that show up, and you go there and you race. So it's pretty special to when you can have a story come full circle like that.
Yep.
And Lee, I'm super happy for him.
I think everybody in the industry was. It was really neat to see that footage of Dale Jr. kind of coaching him after the race, because he was visibly frustrated, I guess, with himself, but also neat listening to the radio transmission between Dale and him, of him trying to kind of help him through. He's like, dude, you're in second. Like, what do you
That was funny.
That was funny.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like Dale's talking to like almost like a younger cousin, where he's like you got it. Like, you're doing it. He's like just trying to keep him locked in, because I think Dale could feel that he had an opportunity to win the race, and he had a real opportunity to win the race. And I think he just was trying to keep him from not psyching himself out, because he's a legend of a race car driver, but just like keep him in the right headspace to do what he needs to do to have the best finish, and not ruin his day that he had put together that was so great. And it was just, Lee's a great guy. I've known Lee for a long time, and he is just somebody that every late model racer like really looks up to. Like, it's the Lee Pulliams and the Bubba Pollards. Like, Lee Pulliam, late model stock racing, Bubba Pollard and straight rail racing. Like, those guys deserve all the accolades and all the success and the roses that they get. And finally, we had one of our guys again, because Bubba got to do it last year. Lee got to do it this year. They both put in great efforts. It just shows you that like a lot of the best race car drivers
just haven't gotten a chance to show it yet.
Just doesn't line up,
or they don't have the money at the right time to get in the right car.
This didn't take any money. I mean, you saw Folsom Fence on there, that it's possible to do it, and there's a lot of guys that have made it without having the money. I kind of get frustrated with the whole, it takes money to do it. It does take money to do it, but you have the opportunities are what it takes to do it. It's how do the stars line up, and it happened for me. This scenario happened for Lee. You look at Kyle Larson, the stars lined up for him because he was great. So there are opportunities. It's just sometimes you don't get lucky enough to fall into the scenarios where it works out for you, so you can drive it.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question real quick, since we're talking about JRM. Over this week, there was a big discussion about Hall of Fame and who should be in and who should be not in. And one of the guys on Dale's show, one of the producers on Dale's show, is like, Justin Allgaier, not a Hall of Famer. Nobody that runs O'Reilly's, Nationwide, or any of that stuff, or trucks or anything, deserve to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I think that's a bit out of touch with how great some of those guys are and what they've done for the sport, but I'm interested to hear y'all's opinions on it.
Kevin, you can go first. I know how I feel. Yeah,
that's a tough conversation, because I think it's it definitely is the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and I think it's you've got Ron Hornaday Jr. In there, who's a 4-time Truck Series champion. So it's really got to be defined appropriately. So I think it's going to be difficult for Justin Allgaier of the world, that is successful in the O'Reilly series but wasn't successful in the Cup series. So where do you draw that line of having the conversation of, well, he didn't make it in Cup, he did really good in Xfinity, so is that good enough to go into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that's the question. To me, I want to hear what you think, but to me, it's like if Justin he's 6th on the all-time win list in that series. The only other person that ran full-time in that series is Jack Ingram, and he's in. So the other guys in the top 10 of the O'Reilly series all-time win list are all Cup guys. So for him to have his name in the sphere of that matters. I think if you have 3 championships, 2 or 3 championships, maybe not first ballot Hall of Famer, but I definitely think you should be on the ballot. You're definitely worthy of consideration. I wouldn't say no. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then, like you said, we have the Truck Series competitors have made it in. There's mechanics and engine builders and people have gone into it as well. I mean, is this just about Justin or just as a whole? You mean, like, are you saying you want to believe that he will go in, or
saying
just that
it's
open to?
If you're gonna be in the O'Reillys or the Truck Series, you got to be absolutely dominant.
Like, I think Corey Heim should maybe. We don't even know what he's gonna do, but he could even be considered already technically.
I don't
if
think
you're
Corey.
basing
No,
on
I
Truck
don't think,
Series.
No, yes, you got to win a bunch of championships, and you got to win a bunch of races. Like Ron Hornaday Jr. 4 championships. Like, what was it, 40-something races won?
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, dominant.
And
so
I think that the other thing
that.
is, like, for Hornaday and Sprague and Skinner, those guys have a different story attached to their Truck Series career.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Because they started the Truck Series.
Mm-hmm.
The Truck Series originated. There's a different story attached to those guys because of the Truck Series and how it started. I think that, like, I look at a guy like Mike Helton, right? Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that's a no question Hall of Famer just because of what he's done for the sport. I think that those guys that ran in the beginning of the Truck Series, or if it's somebody who started a series or something like that, I would agree with you. But it'd be far-fetched for me to say that, an Allgaier type situation would. I think it might be eligible, but I don't know would be in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's up for debate, you guys.
That's the best part about it.
Yeah.
Next up is Bristol. Kevin, what teams really need to take advantage of the off week? Like, what's the goals you think for most people during that time off?
Yeah, well, I think that the 19 car is going to come right back into that equation. Just how do you get that all straight so that when they show back up, they forgot everything that just happened.
Yeah.
Because
it's still the first part of the year out.
Yeah, you've got the cars, you've got the capability, you've already done it. You can put yourself in a position to get back to winning races. I think that the big struggle for me is RCR. Mm-hmm. The Kyle Busch situation has all of a sudden become nuclear. Now that his interviews are going like they did at Martinsville outside of the race car, radio conversation is already escalated to the point that it has, this weekend at Martinsville. I mean, that's a very volatile situation. So that to me is probably the most nuclear scenario that we have is the 8 car.
Yeah.
There you go.
The panic button on that
being
group
hit.
is more than hit. It's lit up, and it's been lit up for a little while, but now it's like, okay,
Yeah.
what's the future? Now we got to start thinking about the future. Kyle's got to start thinking about his future, and RCR need to start thinking about their future, about what the next steps are going to be. Because even if you put, like, I love Jesse Love, but like if
That's great. That was a great
I
line.
love Jesse Love, but if he
I
gets,
love to love her.
I love to love, but if he gets in that 8 car, like, it's not going to be better than
No.
Kyle. But you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
what are we going to do to get this thing going?
Yeah,
in
I think the 3
direction?
car was their best car in qualifying, and they were 27th, and I think Kyle was like 35th, and
Yeah.
Austin Hill was last.
Yeah.
Austin Hill was last. So you have 3 wins at Bristol. It's one of NASCAR's most iconic venues. Why?
Did you sweep all 3 once? Or
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
05. I felt like I should have won about 15 of them there. Bristol is just it's a place where things can happen fast. It's loaded with banking. Sometimes you don't remember where you're at on the racetrack because it all happens so fast. But it's a place where you have to be in tune with your race car. You've got to be relaxed in order to bang off a lot of consistent laps there. You got to get into the Bristol flow and just
Flow
the
state.
the straightaway, the bumps into turn 1, how the car sets you down in the banking, how you let off the brake and get that car set to rip the banking across the bottom. And then as soon as the bottom wears out, you got to be able to really change what you do to drive around the top of the racetrack. And, I think last year we saw the tires not stay together as far as wearing out, and it turned into an old school late model stock race, having to save tires and pit all the time and green flag pit stops. So I'm intrigued to see what do we see? Do we see tire savings again? Do we see the tires shred? If it's warm enough, that'll take all that out of the question. Do we see the bottom of the racetrack? How long does it last? And everybody ripping around the top because it rubbers up. So A lot of questions, but a tough place to race. Fun place to race.
Fun place to race. Always creates some interesting rivalries and things like that. We look forward to it. As I stated, we do have a week off for Easter, so we will be there in 2 weeks. It is time now for you to take over for Mr.
Hot diggity dog.
Sunday Sips over here. Who sounded like you had a very successful Sunday sip, by the way.
Closers. What it do, baby? Welcome to your favorite segment of the show, Mamba Social Sips. And real quick, I need to do a little shout out to the NASCAR Sunday gang that pulled up. Let's run the video. NASCAR Sunday! Yo, we had 50 to 60 people. That was at Corner Pub. I still got my wristband from hopping on, so we moved over to hopping.
Just rolled right from the bar to here.
It was a long night.
It looks like you might have just come from the bar. Are you hungover today?
No, I don't get hangovers. It's one of my superpowers.
Okay.
But I am a little
Alcohol
tired.
does not affect you.
No, it does. Just not
it
like
does.
you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not from this world. You know that already. So it's different. So we had a great time. Thanks for
cool,
everyone that
though.
showed up because a lot of people heard from the show.
I
and
love
they
that
pulled
you're
up from the
raising
show.
awareness
That's
and getting
great.
more
Yeah.
people to watch the sport. That's great.
I hope you need a bigger bar at some point.
Yeah.
Well, when I do, I know who to call about the little bush latte situation.
Bush
We can
latte.
get some of those in there. All right, let's get it going. First off, we're going to start at the top. Word of the week was a little spicy. Run the tape.
We see some contact 3 wide right there.
Big squeeze there, left Chastain on the outside looking in.
A big block, Chastain. I wouldn't block that guy. That's exactly right.
And around goes the 4 of Noah Gragson off the front bumper of A.J. Allmendinger.
Caution.
Second caution of the day, lap 105.
Yeah, all that chaos just created quite a diabolical situation right there, and Noah Gragson wound up on the wrong side of that, Clint.
Was that your word?
What?
Diabolical?
Oh, I have a very refined vocabulary. Didn't you know that?
That was the best. That was the best part. That was the best part.
Clint, just pause.
The words
We'll
are
say
always
your word.
always fun to see if they react up there or not. But it has definitely become a cat and mouse game as to if they think they recognize it. Every once in a while, Clint will be like,
Was that it?
Was that it? No, Clint, that's just me.
funny.
Yeah.
I love it. So MotoGP this weekend going on. Jorge Martin, who is a champion, 2-time champion, I think, in this series, won the sprint race. I was a little surprised that he did this, but he did a wheelie, which that's not surprising. It's what happened after the wheelie that kind of just run there. You guys will see. So, Kev, wheelie. I don't think I would. I don't ride motorcycles, but when the wheel is when the bars are to the right and you land, I feel like that's a bad deal.
I rode a motorcycle one time and I had a flat tire and I fell off the side of a cliff. So
What?
I got a flat
my.
tire and I pulled over to the side and as I pulled over to the side, it kind of slid down the side of the mountain and.
That sounds
That was the
terrible.
last time I rode a dirt bike. So I feel for this guy because you win the race and now you celebrate and crash the bike. I view it as possibly maybe how you would celebrate at times.
No, not in a heat race. Maybe after the
What'd you
big
say
race.
earlier? Say it again.
I don't
He said
remember.
That's how he said that's probably how Mamba looks leaving NASCAR Sundays.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
That is.
Yes.
Luckily, it wasn't like that because the Ubers around here are really great, so I didn't
Oh,
have
there
to.
you go. Yeah, that's
We
wise,
Uber
yeah.
around, but that's how I was walking to the next spot when I was on my way. It was a little sideways.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. Short track. I told you we were going short track racing. We love short tracks. First time in a long time, a NASCAR national level series has rejoined Hickory Motor Speedway. This isn't a clip of the winner. This is a clip of the guy who finished second, I do believe, Max Reeves. Go Max.
Yeah, the guy that's been fast all night, that number 18, but ultimately finished. How do you feel about your performance and just the last few laps and how all that ironed out?
Yeah, we were the best by far tonight, and props to Tristan McKee and all them at PRG. They were good too, but they're nothing on us. The 9, I don't know what the plan was, but, I think he was trying to take me and the 77 out, but if you can't beat them, you got to wreck them, so that's, This reminds me of that one interview with Kyle Busch, and he cried at the haters, but there's a reason I'm in that car and not one of these other ones. So, I'm just thankful to all my guys for everything, and I love all these haters. That's my favorite part of racing, and I'm just thankful to be here.
Max Reeves finishes in second tonight.
Look, Bob.
It's just silence.
I love
your clip. Go ahead.
I love the pound in the chest, but you better you got to go win a lot more races now if you're gonna talk like that. I don't know. You're in some gray area on this one. It's not that gray.
That was definitely some his interviews are always fantastic though. I like listening to his interviews because they make me laugh. But this one definitely had a few of those moments that made you think, oh man, I don't know if I'd have said that. But I'll have to go back and watch the race. I didn't watch the race, so I don't know exactly what he's referring to.
He did get run into quite a bit.
I was wondering,
like they were really swapping.
If you can't beat him, you got to wreck him. That's what that was.
Might be a little early for the Kyle Busch comparisons.
Yeah, Kyle was in the 18. He's in the 18. They're both JGR. I get it. Yeah, just Max
makes it fun.
Yeah.
You got a lot of booze.
I enjoyed watching.
It was fun. You made the show, so
that's right.
Entertaining. Appreciate that. Man, vintage racing is so cool.
Yeah.
Like when people bring their old race cars out
just
to the
ride
racetrack,
around.
Just to ride around.
Show them off.
But sometimes at Goodwood, they like to race hard. This is a video that Parker reposted. He said, Pro Motorsports spends billions of dollars over the last 50 years on safety and advancements. Vintage racing at Goodwood says that's cute. This guy, I don't know what kind of cars they are. He dropped a couple wheels in the grass like he was Scotty Mack.
Holy moly.
Brother.
You think he's taller?
No. Gotta be actually, yeah, probably.
I mean, it looks like it stretched him out a foot.
Look, can we just look at this?
I didn't realize they race that
He's
aggressively
thinking right now,
those kind of things.
I have spent $500,000 on this car and I'm going to die.
The worst part is you can see it coming. You're just like, oh, this is not going to be
I wasn't
good.
expecting him to get whipped out of the car, though.
No, they don't have seatbelts.
I understand now. I see that.
Props to Parker, though, with the very funny,
I'm glad Parker brought that to our attention.
Yeah.
That was wild.
That was brutal.
Quick-witted with that.
Oh my God, I hurt a little bit watching that. My neck hurts like that. All right, we actually, guys, mailbag question. Okay. Wow, Tyler did not tell me how to pronounce his last name.
Justin. We got a mailbag question
from
Justin.
Scutieri.
It's probably that.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. That's a team effort on that one. Denny Hamlin recently said he thinks he will reach 67 wins by the time he retires with improvements to tires, horsepower, and downforce. How different do you think your win total would look if that package existed in your final seasons? Kevin Harvick, what say you?
I think that first, I think that Denny will get more than 67 because I think if he keeps going, I don't think he quits.
6-7.
Yeah. And I think that, I would have loved the more horsepower package, but I think in order to win more races, I'd have had to go find a different car. I think that, Stewart-Haas Racing being at the end of what they were and seeing what it's evolved into today and kind of seeing Ryan Preece and Chase Briscoe and all these guys leave, I'm like, oh, we were probably overachieving there at the end with everything that we had going on. So anytime there's more horsepower, I think I would have done better.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate y'all. Welcome and thank you for coming to Mamba's Social Sips.
Thanks for coming to Mamba's Sunday NASCAR Day.
Yeah, NASCAR Sundays.
Hopefully people keep showing up.
Oh, yeah, we're going to keep pushing. We'll get Kevin out there and Kaitlyn out there one time this year, too. I have a good feeling about it. 805-317-4175 is the voicemail number. If you want to leave a mailbag, Harvick Happy Hour 4@gmail.com. That's all I got for you.
There you have
Did we get the fax machine yet?
No.
Kevin still wants that fax machine.
We didn't get the fax machine.
I think a fax would be great.
Time now for the last call, and this is for you to grade the Chase Elliott burnout, which you've given Chase very high marks in the past. But what did you think of this one?
Well, the good news for Chase is he can't do any worse than Tyler Reddick did last week. So
true.
I thought he was headed to the drifting against the fence.
I thought he was
going
to do that too.
But it looked like right here he was trying to do that, but I don't think that
happened. Yeah.
He just didn't get close enough.
It never happened. But this was a really good burnout. I love how he just flipped it around right here and stopped at the start-finish line.
A lot of smoke.
So what are you giving it?
We'll give it a B+.
B+ for Chase Elliott.
The long burnouts are hard to get the proper smoke. Like Denny got a lot of smoke. Chase got a lot of smoke.
Yeah. It stood its own.
Parked it right there.
Yeah, Chase on
Like
your
that
next
sound
win.
effect.
On your next win, if you could just kiss the outside wall for us, and that
You'll
be
get
your
high
that'd be
signature.
great.
Yeah.
That's your deal.
Speaking of high marks, let's take a look at the point standings where I currently am the leader in the clubhouse. Which
I love it.
Is
I'm happy
kind
for
of
you.
funny. 24 for me, 6 points for Byron. I collected. Kevin, you picked up points for choosing Denny
course I
Hamlin.
did.
He's at 22nd.
Yes.
Mamba was 0 for selecting Bubba
Well,
Wallace.
the great part is Mamba's back in last.
Yeah.
I don't mind that you're winning as long as he's in last.
I-
So that's what makes me happy. And I have one less race than you. So
This is true.
you really suck.
We have.
We were really
yeah.
good in practice, guys.
Yeah.
We were really
you
good in practice.
really suck. So
Okay.
wish I
well, we have
was
to
an
make our
Oscar Mayer
selections for our picks
wiener.
for Bristol.
Okay,
So
I'll go
do you want to
first.
start first?
Yeah, I
What
will.
you got?
I'm locked in. I know.
Okay, let's hear.
This guy's been on a tear. You talk
Ty
about
Gibbs?
it's
I
Ty
knew it.
freaking Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs.
like
It's
that.
time. And this is
he
loves
had it
his
won
place.
last year.
I know.
Just got into pit road too hot and overshot it. But
Vote of confidence for Ty. Mine is for Ryan Blaney. I think he will have a solid showing coming off the off week. He's been fast every week, so
Okay. Bristol.
That's my pick.
yeah,
Interesting.
I'm gonna go with Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
How many times do you think you're
Hamlin.
gonna pick Denny Hamlin this year?
Check the stats. We're on
Check the
a great
stats.
streak. I'm probably picking next week when we go to Kansas too, just to let you know.
There
in
you
case
go.
you're wondering.
We'll have to see.
I mean, it is a great run for Denny Hamlin in this stretch of races.
True.
I mean, why not?
It's all in good fun.
he didn't win this week.
We know he won't pick.
Since this show started, nobody has picked Denny Hamlin to win more than Kevin Harvick ever. in the
Nobody's
history of
picked
everything.
Ryan Blaney more to win than you have either.
Nah, I mean, there's
True.
fans out there. That
You know what we're
I
gonna do?
see. I'm the one who.
We're gonna go off
moves-
the air right here,
Yeah.
and we're just gonna keep arguing.
So I want to talk about your Thursday show with Mike Helton, who was just
Yeah.
with you to notify you of the Hall of Fame ballot nominee. So
yeah,
tell us about
it's
it.
always fun to interview somebody who has that much history in the sport, and he was in a great mood and open, and just to be able to ask just random questions, and he answered them all. So
We look
fun
forward to that.
interview with Mike.
Catch that on Thursday. And I want to say a thank you to our producer, Tyler, who's been with us the last 3 years. He is going on to a new opportunity. We appreciate all the hard work over the last few years. So we will see all of the closers after Bristol in a few weeks.
Bye, Tyler.